This is Richard Wolff for Democracy at Work. It's a difficult time, bear with us, but it is also a time when we can learn very valuable lessons that will go far beyond the pandemic that oppresses us now. One of the lessons to be learned, and I as an economist am acutely aware of it, one of the lessons to be learned from the virus we're now living with is the utter inefficiency of capitalism. It is exposed in a stunning way that requires us to pay some close attention, because what is true about capitalist inefficiency during this corona pandemic is true all the time, just as much. Let me explain. The inefficiency of capitalism in the face of corona is simple. It would have been appropriate, knowing what we know for at least a century about viral pandemics. They come from time to time. They are devastating. They have to be controlled so they don't spread from one person to another, etc., etc. We know all that. Our scientists know it. Our medical system knows it. It's well known. In the face of a well-known danger that periodically recurs, the only rational, efficient human response is to prepare for it, to plan for it, to have ready to go the means to minimize death, sickness, damage, and loss. What that would have meant in the United States, whose capitalism failed spectacularly at preparing, what it would have meant is to produce test kits, to produce masks, to produce ventilators, to produce hospitals, beds, gowns, all the protective gear. It would have also meant to plan, how do we achieve social distance? How do we take school children grouped in a large room together, which is no longer safe, and substitute a well-planned out tutorial system? One teacher, one student. Take the millions of unemployed, for example, who become one-on-one teachers of whatever they know, helping students to make use, productive use, educational use of the time they have to be isolated with a teacher 6 or more feet away, able to work with them in designated locations to get all this done, particularly in our urban areas where we're close enough to one another to get this done relatively easily. None of it was done. Capitalism is a system focused on profits. Profits for the enterprise. Profits as soon as possible for the enterprise. We fetishize profits in a capitalist system, and it is a kind of disease. So none of that was done, and it wasn't done because it wasn't profitable. It's not profitable for a company that makes ventilators to make a lot of them and stockpile them. That's a loser for a profit system. Ditto for hospital beds. Ditto for face masks. You name it. Ditto. Ditto. See, capitalism is a system that makes people do what is profitable. We have now lost in the wealth of our country, in the number of people immobilized by illness, and in the rising number of dead people. We have lost way more value than it would have taken to either produce or stockpile, imported if we had to, masks and beds and everything else. Capitalism wasn't efficient. It was horrifically, inhumanely inefficient. It failed to prepare. It failed to produce and to stockpile. And this is not unique. Capitalism, with its profit motive, is not efficient. It never was. It's not efficient to provide affordable housing for everybody. What does that mean? It's not profitable. If you took homeless people and you provided them finally with the jobs they could do, the incomes they could earn, and therefore the housing they could afford, the benefits to our society on many levels would be enormous. But we don't do that. Not because it's not efficient to do it. It is. It's also the only humane thing to do. I remind those of us who take morality or ethics seriously, religiously or not, what kind of mentality allows the plague of homelessness in our country, the poverty all around us in our economy, and talks about capitalism's efficiency. No, no, no. It wasn't efficient dealing with the coronavirus. It's not efficient dealing with the homelessness problem. Capitalism is a system that puts profits ahead of everything else, and that includes efficiency. No one need worry that a transition from capitalism to socialism or some other post-capitalist society is in some way a compromise in efficiency. Capitalism does lots of horrifically inefficient things. That alone is a reason to be far more open to transition to a better system, one that deals with the efficiency question head on, rather than trying to get us all to pretend that in some magic way that is exposed as false by the current crisis, that pursuing profits magically gets us efficiency. It doesn't. It's not doing it now. It never did.